morning, everyone. It is a privilege to be here and be part of this Senate Addiction Forum. I am both heartened and heartbroken by what we've heard so far this morning, but I'm certainly motivated to action, as I hope all of you are. I think we've heard how far-reaching this issue is and certainly how long-lasting the collateral consequences can be, and that's the focus of our panel here. So I've got about 5 minutes, and I'm going to focus on 5 pieces of action that this administration has taken on the issue of collateral consequences. Just by way of background, the Attorney General has a Federal Reentry Council that includes 23 federal agencies across the administration who are working together at the cabinet level and at the staff level to focus on people with a criminal record. And it's really focused on public safety and on ensuring that people who get out of prisons and jails and have a criminal record have the tools they need to be successful, productive people when they get out. There are 3 ways we're doing our work. We're trying to coordinate and leverage resources coming out from all the federal agencies and into the field to best the reentry outcomes. The second way we're working together is to use the bully pulpit to really clarify policy and lift up programs and policies that work. And the third way, and this is what we're going to talk about today, is removing the barriers to reentry so that people have a better chance of success when they get out, so that they can work, so that they can increase their education, take care of their families, and be parts of their communities. So we're focusing on collateral consequences. People have talked about this issue. We do have a national inventory of collateral consequences, which has been mentioned today, which the National Institute of Justice has funds. Tom Foyt's here with us today. And I do want to mention that because this is an online resource that anyone, you can go to it, you can click on your state, you can click on different triggering offenses, different types of consequences, and you can see the specific consequences in your state that are barriers to housing, to education, to work, and the like. But what are we doing about it? I want to highlight 5 things that we have done and are doing about it, and this is through the work of the Federal Interagency Reentry Council. The first thing goes back to 2011 when the Attorney General started the council. He wrote to every state Attorney General and every governor and talked about this issue. He pointed to the ABA's Collateral Consequences Inventory, which was still being formed at that point, and he urged them to consider tailoring, modifying, or eliminating collateral consequences when they do not serve a specific public safety purpose. Several states have absolutely stepped up to that call to action. Ohio is the best example, and you'll hear directly from Director Moore in just a few moments. The Attorney General also asked the federal agencies who are part of the council to take at our own, look at our own regulations and policies. And over the last 2 years, we've looked at hundreds of regulations across 12 federal agencies. Most of the regulations we looked at did serve, we felt like were appropriate in terms of how they were addressing collateral consequences and the public safety purposes behind them. But there have been some changes made, and there are many more that are in the works right now that are being considered. Michael Botticelli talked about some of them. He talked about the EEOC's action. He talked about the Department of Labor. I want to mention one, which is a recent and current one, that the SBA, the Small Business Administration, has proposed. And this is just one example when we look across the kinds of consequences that can be lifted without impacting public safety. They looked at their microloan program. We know the barriers to employment are so high, but what about when somebody wants to start a business of their own? Their microloan policies until now had precluded people who are on probation and parole, even if they were otherwise eligible, from applying and being eligible for microloans. The SBA has proposed a change to that rule. It's been published in the Federal Register for comment, and right now it's either being finalized, just been finalized, about to be finalized. That is about to change, so that people who are will be eligible, who who are on probation and parole. It doesn't mean that they are guaranteed to get a microloan, but it means that they're not automatically in a blanket way screened out. And that's what we're talking about, having an individualized lens to look at the appropriateness of a consequence to what people are applying for. So there was lots of backwards-looking action that has been taken and certainly that is being taken. But we also are talking about how to institutionalize this looking forward. And so as part of that, the Department of Justice has institutionalized a forward-looking collateral consequences policy. As part of the Attorney General's Smart on Crime initiative that was launched in August 2013, he issued a memorandum to the heads of all the components of the Department of Justice and asked that any new or updated or revised guidance, policy, regulation in the department has to have a collateral consequences check. And it needs to ensure that the component has reviewed to see if there is a consequence, and if there is, to see if it can be tailored somewhat to limit the scope of the offenses that are being included, to limit the amount of time since the offense. It's a practical way that now any new policy that's being issued within our huge department has this eye and needs to kind of have the collateral consequences checked before it's finalized. And we're thinking about other ways that a forward-looking policy can be institutionalized more broadly than the Department of Justice. So I combined, for my 5 points, I combined the Reentry Council review and the agency actions. So the Second Chance Fellow, this is something that the Bureau of Justice Assistance, BJA, has just announced, and it's our way to try to walk the walk here. And as part of their Visiting Fellows program, one of the categories that we're going to be looking to hire for competitively is a Second Chance Fellow. And this will be someone who has deep expertise in reentry and justice policy, but also has personally been through the system themselves. And this will be a person who will be able to work with us for a number of months or years within the federal family, both to advise the Reentry Council group and also BJA's Second Chance programs. So this opportunity has been pre-announced by BJA, and the solicitation will be out in the next couple months. And we're really looking forward to some competition in this category and to having someone working with us from the Justice Department on these issues. And then the last point I wanted to touch on is grants and technical assistance and products and ways that we're trying to use the resources that we have to address this issue. So some of our existing grants, like the Second Chance Grant, like the Department of Labor's REXO grant, we've explicitly allowed and encouraged those dollars to be used for legal services to address expungement, cleaning up records, and other legal barriers. That's one example. We also have some new funding that we're working in partnership with HUD on to have legal services focused on young people, and again, cleaning up records, expungement, those kinds of issues, focused in public housing units. So we'd have the legal services providers in the public housing areas to work on these issues, because that's where a lot of the clients are. And that's a forthcoming opportunity that will be coming out soon from HUD. We're also looking at ways that we can develop resources to make the national inventory, for example, user-friendly to prosecutors, to judges, to defenders, and the like. So we absolutely welcome your ideas here, but we are trying to be very action-oriented as we think about how to reduce collateral consequences for people with a criminal record, for people with addiction, to give them a second chance to engage in our communities in productive ways. And I've got lots of live resources here. There's a one-pager I put on the back table when you leave that has links and summaries with all of this information. Thank you.